Biden is calling for bold reforms to the United States Supreme Court. He's proposing term limits for justices and a constitutional amendment to counteract the court's recent ruling on presidential immunity. Joining me now to discuss all of this is Washington Representative Pramila Jayapal. Thank you so much for being here.
It's great to see you, Farah.
Well, could you talk to us first about the president's proposals, how they came about, and really why is it crucial now?
Yeah, well, we have been pushing on these proposals and working with the administration to come up with a set of proposals that really addresses the extreme MAGA Supreme Court that we are seeing. Everything from overturning precedent in Roe v. Wade to the accountability, corruption, lack of transparency, issues around particular Supreme Court justices, the fact that there is no code of ethics that is actually enforceable for the Supreme Court, which I think a lot of Americans don't know. And then, of course, the recent presidential immunity decision. And I think that the president's proposals are excellent. They mirror what we have put forward in Congress. I have a bill with Senator Warren around ethics, accountability, and transparency. Hank Johnson has a proposal for reforming the Supreme Court, both expansion of the Supreme Court and term limits. The president's proposals are really about term limits. They say 18 years, but every president would have every 2 years be able to appoint a justice. And I think that is extremely important. And then, of course, the presidential immunity. No president, no former president should be above the law. And that is something that 3/4 of the American people, regardless of party, agree on. A majority of Republicans and a supermajority of independents and Democrats agree that no one should be above the law, including a former president.
All right, let's talk a little bit about the presidential election. We're now fewer than 100 days away from Election Day. A lot has changed in that landscape in just 10 days. What are your thoughts on Vice President Kamala Harris in likely becoming the nominee for the Democratic Party? And if she does earn that nomination, do you see yourself endorsing her, and why would that be important to you?
Well, I've already endorsed her. I have already endorsed her. I was one of the earliest people to endorse her because I felt it was very important that we immediately unify around a candidate. We have very little time left before the election. The stakes are too high, and she is the only candidate that has actually been voted on by tens of millions of people across this country, along with President Biden. And so when President Biden, handed over the baton, if you will, and endorsed Vice President Harris, I felt it was important that we quickly unify. So I've endorsed her. I've already been out on the campaign trail for her. I was one of the first surrogates to go out last week. I was in Georgia campaigning there and talking to young voters who are organizing on college campuses. The momentum and the enthusiasm is palpable. I have not felt something like this perhaps since Barack Obama. And I know that perfection is never on the ballot, but real progress is. Democracy is at stake here. And so I'm proud to support the vice president. I have worked closely with her. We are both of Indian origin, and I was the first South Asian American woman elected to the House. She was the first South Asian American woman elected to the Senate. The same day that Donald Trump was elected, we worked together to introduce the Access to Counsel bill in the wake of Donald Trump's Muslim ban to provide legal counsel to immigrants who were being deported at that time. We worked together to introduce the National Domestic Workers Bill of Rights. We worked together to ensure universal child care and paid leave in Build Back Better. And I think she is uniquely qualified to prosecute the case against a convicted felon, Donald Trump, and to really advance the Biden-Harris and now the Harris presidency economic agenda to lift up working people and poor people across this country.
All right, Representative Pramila Jayapal, thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you, Farah.